Fishful Thinker is brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse. Gear up for unforgettable. Lowrance. Find, navigate, dominate.
Fish. Oh, that was a bite. That was a bite. Yep. That was a bite. Let's see if he'll come back. Dude, I might put a 4-inch gulp minnow on here. There he is. He bumped it again. I might put that 4-inch gulp on here. That's for sure a fish both times, though. Well, I know, but they're not committing to it. They're just nipping it. Oh, I think that then won't even bump it if I slow it down. I might just jig it. Dude, there's a lot of fish right here, and they are right on the bottom. And you know, the crazy thing about this, guys, we've shown you guys a bunch of browns. The only rainbow we caught so far was that smallest fish we've caught today by far. But ironically, the biggest fish in this lake are rainbows and cut bows, and we hope to show you some of those by jig fishing today. A lot of times the hard bait's gonna really differentiate what species you catch. So we did a whole show here one time of we fishing hard baits, we caught all browns. As soon as I picked the jig up, I caught rainbows, and the rainbows get huge in here. I'm not gonna lie, there's rainbows in here in the 10 to 15 pound range, whereas the browns top out at about 6 or 7 in my experience at the most. And usually they're about like the ones we've been showing you, is, you know, in the 15 to 20 inch range. That's most of what the browns are in here, because it's managed to have lots of good quality spawning size browns, so that when Parks and Wildlife comes in here in fall, they catch them in fish traps, and then they keep them in a cage that's in the lake until they're fully ripe and ready to go, and then they will literally milt the males and take the eggs from the females and mix them together, and they will stock them, take them to hatcheries and then stock them out all over the state that needs brown trout. So it's a pretty neat fishery from that regard. But because the rainbows are in here are largely a hybrid cut bow, they get real big here. Okay, try this, a little bit more angle on it. Fish, 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 got him. There we go, all right. That is Mount Zirkles back there, Zirkle that you're looking at behind us, and or over there, I should say. And all that snow, we're here in May, and early May, and all that snow you're looking at over there is what feeds all these different trout lakes, and that is another quality brown trout, guys. This is not a bad little spot to fish right here. And that 4-inch power minnow is getting choked. Come here, fish, and oh, I got my net in my own net. Don't do that. There we go. All right, got him unhooked. He was hooked right in the tip of the snoot. And that's our smallest fish of the day right there, guys. Still got the big old teeth on him, and that's a gorgeous fish by any standards. I mean, I don't know how you get a prettier trout than that. I'll put him back there when they take off. But man, what a place to fish. And you know, this power minnow, I got it all tangled up in the net, but that power minnow is one of the best ways to catch trout, you know, if it's legal. So power minnows and gulp minnows, both back and forth. The power minnow for me is a little more efficient because you don't have to worry about it drying out if you leave it in the boat or something like that. Whereas the gulp minnow, when fish are just bumping baits, they'll commit to the gulp minnow more consistently than they will anything else, which is no shocker. These days we also throw the Maxent flat nose minnow for trout as well, but I like it better with a nose hook through it rather than on a jig head. So if you're in a drop shot for trout, which by the way is a great tactic as well, or a split shot where you have a split shot rig up maybe a foot ahead of the hook, and then just the hook through the bait of the minnow and then drift it that way in a river, that's also a great way to catch them. So for now, I'll dig this out of the net and get another one.
Fishful Thinker is brought to you by Berkeley, your fish, our science. Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Sportsman's Warehouse. Gear up for unforgettable.
When it comes to this kind of fishing, guys, again, a lot of it's going to come down to, with conventional tackle, just getting in front of one more than what you catch them on. Everyone always emails me the same thing, what'd you catch them on? Most of the time, if I'm on a jig bite, I can get them on a half dozen different jigs. If I'm on a hard bait bite, I can get them on a half dozen different hard bait bites. It really more a matter of the nuances of the presentation and things like that. It's never, in my experience, particularly with trout, is it, oh, well, he has a brown jig and I have a green jig and therefore he's catching them and I'm not. That's not generally what it ever comes down to. It comes down to presentation details, lure control, you know, who's making the better cast, who's working the bait. You'll notice I'll mix up a whole bunch of how I work the bait. I'll do a more casual lift and drop. I'll bring it farther up off the bottom or less far off the bottom, or in some cases maybe I won't leave the bottom at all, just depending on what's going on. But it's really never, in my experience, the tiny nuances that make the difference here. It's normally around these pothole lakes, getting around some fish and then mixing up presentations. Having said all that, day in and day out, it's really hard to beat a tube jig or a gulp minnow. All right, got this one right here, guys. This one kind of short line just caught us off guard right at the boat. And I wasn't paying attention to the camera guy, but look at the size of this one. Another gorgeous fish, and he swallowed that minnow. I mean, they're not really swallowed. When I say that, look at him pulling line. That minnow's right in the roof of his mouth. So when I say he swallowed it, that's not really what I mean, but he choked it. How about that? Come on, that's a big old hen too. Oh man, that's a nice looking trout. These are starting to look a lot like each other. They're all the same size if you look at that, and that's not a shocker. The reason they're all the same size is because they're all the same year class, and that's the goal. That's what Parks and Wildlife wants in here. Watch this. Oh, I dropped him. Oh, there you go. Ay, 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 ay. Now the sun's out, guys. We keep going back and forth. The sun, the wind, the sun, back and forth. Every time it starts gusting again, it seems like the fish will bite consistently wherever, and we've moved around the lake a fair bit. But the one consistent thing has been a jig right on the bottom. And as we've said before, it's not as picky about which jig, it's how you present it. So the weight of the jig, but a tube jig's been bit, the long straight tail's been bit, and the swim thumper tail, the pro shad, also been bit. So it's more a matter of getting the jig tight to the bottom, fishing it well, and you'll catch them. All right, guys, that's what we just caught that brown on right there, and that's what we caught the rainbow on a few minutes ago as well. It's a 4-inch Berkley powder minnow in a rainbow trout color. I've got it on a Berkley half head jig right there with the Fusion 19 hook. Great little hook, and then I've got a 6-pound Trillium 100% fluorocarbon leader, about 3/4 of the length of the rod, and then 8-pound X9 braid on here. It's a Revo MG Extreme. It's the best spinning reel, in my opinion, you can buy for freshwater use. It weighs next to nothing. Got it on a pre-production prototype rod. I can't tell you about that till next year. We'll see what happens next year if they bring it to market. But this is a very, very finesse combo, and that makes these kind of fish a lot of fun for one, and two, it allows me to feel this jig in the wind. So I've said forever, your finesse jig equipment should be your most expensive equipment because it needs to be the most sensitive, highest performing. It's also some of your most versatile equipment, so it makes sense you would spend a bunch of money on it. So for now, let's see if we can catch some more with it. All right. All right, guys, so you can see it's getting serious wind-wise for us. So that's a definite issue that you have to pay attention to with these lakes up here. And not just North Park, South Park, Laramie Plains lakes, anywhere, any of the eastern Wyoming lakes, western Nebraska, all of these places get wind. I mean, there's not a lot of cover around here to protect you from the wind. So we've actually been to this lake in the fall and fished only from the bank, even though we had the boat with us, because it was blowing so hard I was afraid to put the boat in the water. There's also not a courtesy dock here, so if you've got a big fancy boat, you probably need to pay attention to that as well. And that's a key thing too. But in general, I'd always rather have the wind on the lakes, and we're actually in the most lee spot in the lake, which goes against most things I know. But I came over here because I want to drift all the way down this bank, which is what we're doing. So we'll see what happens, you know, as we do that. But the key to the whole situation is keeping an open mind. I've got a bunch of rods on the deck. A couple of them have been bit. This one has been the most consistent, and that's the 4-inch gulp minnow, or excuse me, the 4-inch power minnow on the on the 1/4 ounce half head. And I think it's because it's the most reactive bait. It's the quickest bait in terms of diving back to the bottom. Got him right there. Big one right under the boat. Look at that. Are you kidding me? He just choked it right under the boat. What am I gonna do with that big old brown, dude? I got him. I know, I hooked another one right underneath the boat. Are you kidding? All right, we're gonna be a little easier on this one. I want to point out though, that's 3 fish and 4 casts, even though that one's foul hooked on the belly. I don't even know how that happens, but jig's already out. Look how fat that fish is. And what these fish are getting fat on is cutbow eggs. Look at the belly on this fish, guys. How about that? I'm not flexing on the belly. He's not even resting on my palm. That is a fat trout. You wonder why they grow fast here? That's why right there. Guys, we're gonna go ahead and put this one back real quick because again, it was easy. It was foul hooked. I don't like foul hooking fish, but it's part of the game. And as you saw, fish was no worse for the wear. So guys, we appreciate you watching very much. This is a really fun lake. It's a great place to come test your trout skills a little bit. But it's a brood lake like we talked about, so go easy on your fish. This is not a place to come harvest them. It's a great place to catch fish on flies, but the wind blows a lot. So if you're gonna fly fish here, be prepared to fly fish in the wind. Otherwise, bring your conventional tackle, fish with an open mind, you'll catch plenty. So if you wanna join the conversation on social media, we would appreciate that very much at Fishful Thinker. That would be on Facebook or Instagram. Also our YouTube channel at Fishful Thinker, very important to us, guys. We've got a few hundred videos on there. We'd love to have you check those out. And most importantly, we hope you'll tune in and we'll see you next week. Fish. All right, there we go. There's another one, guys, and that one's also on the 4-inch power minnow. And that right there is exactly why when we go power fishing for trout. Oh, that was a fish. I just missed that one. See if he'll come back. Brr. Shouldn't have got my hands wet. Fish. Oh, it bumped something. No, it wasn't. It was right there. The camera guy's showing you those antelope right there. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this off and retie it too, real quick, because diligence, diligence, diligence. If you don't retie early and often, you will regret it. These guys have teeth.